Yeah, yeah, I'm born good. CrossFit and business. This is a call to arms, a feedback from the community video. I'm going to share with you guys some, just a quick story and some lessons learned over the last pretty much year, getting into CrossFit, understanding the philosophy behind it, and then trying to extract some of the elements that make it so powerful that many of you guys may not be aware of, and how that might translate to business. And in the comments below, I'm going to ask you to share your thoughts on where this could go. But this, to me, is the beginning of a thought experiment that I've been running with in my mind for the last 4 months. Pretty much last September, I got into CrossFit, and what really got me hooked was studying the philosophy. What is fitness? And then there's Coach Glassman, the creator of it. It was one of the fastest growing sports health fitness franchises ever in the history of the world. I mean, just the business approach to it, pretty much run like a motorcycle gang. The fees charged every is is minimal. Essentially, I think it's like a couple $1,000 to own a CrossFit box or to use a CrossFit box that you pay to kind of HQ. And the way they've used content and media and documents and storytelling and really the community to extract some of the beliefs and strategies and best practices in the boxes is really unique. And that's what I want to share with you guys, because to me, there's a corollary that could be extracted for business, right? Where CrossFit is for fitness, what's the equivalent for business? So in CrossFit, you have the definition of fitness, which I think is step one. It's like, how would you define business? If fitness, from CrossFit's term, is increased work capacity across broad time and modal domain, which you need to understand what CrossFit is to understand that, what would be the definition of business? Is it to create value for shareholders? Is it to create profitable revenue? Is it to empower the employees? What are your thoughts on that? I just wanted to kind of use this video as an opportunity to talk about this thought experiment, because recently I was at an event talking to this guy Mike, who owns a CrossFit box, and he was like, yo, so how long have you been doing CrossFit? And I shared with him my story, and I just said, look, dude, I've been getting nerdy on this stuff. Like, just going, reading, watching every talk that Coach Glassman's ever given, reading all the business literature around how to operate and manage a box, looking at the philosophies. I even got my CrossFit Level 1 certificate. Very important to use the word certificate. Just not because I still have an immature squat. I still can't do double unders at scale. I'm not like actually great at CrossFit. That's not my goal. My goal was really to obviously improve my fitness in all areas of life, and that's what I love about it, and really dive into the philosophies, because I think that there's a correlation to business. So number one is, how would you define business like CrossFit's defined fitness? Number two, to me, is what are the inspirations that we could take from other industries to create businesses? So in CrossFit, they have kind of three what they call training modals that they are inspired from: gymnastics, weightlifting, and metabolic conditioning. So G, M, and W. And pretty much every CrossFit workout follows a pattern and kind of mixes and matches. I mean, the whole point is, constantly varied. I mean, if you've never done CrossFit, you got to check it out just so you can understand the context. But every workout is completely different. But they're based on these three big buckets of training modalities. And I really think that there's probably an equivalent to business, right? Because it's one part marketing, it's another part operations, it's another part product. So, I've heard guys like Marcus Leonis talk about product, process, and people. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And really, that's the video, again, is for you guys to leave comments with your thoughts on where do you think at a higher level, at the 50,000 foot view, people should start thinking about business. Because to me, this is an opportunity for us to get really clear on kind of scientific approaches to understanding where, as an entrepreneur, should I spend my time? How should I think about building my business? What are the skills I need to upgrade to increase my throughput or output, or business acumen? And a lot of people have different programs out there. I'm really thinking about, like, how would you create an open source framework for entrepreneurs to understand business that's not tied to a university, is not tied to an individual, is there for the world to use. So the training modalities and the equivalent for business is an interesting area that I think a lot about. The third is, and there's many, but is the 10 kind of components of fitness, right? So CrossFit's got things like agility and speed and strength and flexibility and balance, and again, there's 10, and that I believe was inspired by somebody else, but Coach Glassman brought that into CrossFit as a foundational element to CrossFit. You know, they have a prescription for diets, but when you think about those 10 skills, what would be the equivalent for business? Would it be financials, marketing, sales, leadership, etc.? If you have any literature ideas on that, again, leave a comment below, link it up. If you have a book, I'd love to hear from you. I'm really, I've been studying business now for, 20 years. I've read over 1,000 business books and personal development books and leadership books and psychology and all these different areas. And what I'm doing now is I'm re-reviewing all the material to kind of pull out the things that I believe are patterns of principles, or best practices when it comes to business. And the inspiration, the reason for this video is CrossFit, because if you look underneath the covers, there's some really incredible thinking, science-based, physics-based thinking that went into it. And I think we need the same quality of thinking and community around business. So that is the motivation for this video. So if you want to leave your thoughts on the definition of business, if you want to talk about what are the different areas of a business at a high level that we can be inspired from to kind of start looking at the different buckets, or even what would be the top 8 to 12 or 10 skills or departments within a business that need to be understood. And then the big question that I want to leave with you guys is, and this is why I think that training fitness modality of CrossFit is so interesting, is the compete every day. It's every day you can run through a series of movements to get a number, to give you a quantifiable feedback into how well you did compared to your peers in the group, and also how well you've done compared to previous historical performance. And I think that feedback loop is what's missing in business. So if you had to measure and create a set of tests for an entrepreneur, how would you define that? It might not be something that could be figured out, but if it could, I think it's powerful. And personally, I think it's worth exploring, investigating, and trying to define for the rest of my life. As an entrepreneur, I think that this is probably the most interesting area that I continue to study as a lens, as a filter for all the content and information that comes into my world. This is kind of where I'm like, okay, what would be the equivalent? How would you define this? Can we get some consensus on these areas? And I would love to get your feedback and thoughts on it. And if you haven't done CrossFit, go do it. I'm not one of those crazy dudes with tattoos and cult following. I just think that there's some really interesting philosophies that you guys should be aware of, and how that translates into business and entrepreneurship and creating value in the world. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel to get other tips on how to start and grow your business. I'd also suggest you join my newsletter for exclusive invites to events, community contests, and other free training. And if you want more content, be sure to check out these videos. As per usual, I will see you next week. Have a great day.